good to be here this evening. I hope that what I have to say will in some way help us in our daily life, to help us to build the church and make it stronger. That's our goal, is to make a good, strong church, a good, strong body that can withstand the things of this world, because we can't do it on our own, I don't think. I think we have to have each other working as a member of the body in some capacity to make it stronger. And we can lean on each other, we can rejoice with each other, we can cry with each other, we can laugh with each other. And that makes it a stronger church, makes it a body. We're going to talk about that tonight. But you know, we just went through, and we're still going through, a selection process for elders and deacons. And now we've come up with some names. And, you know, whether they take it or not, that's up to them. But it behooves us to look at those gentlemen and say, it wasn't a competition to who got named what. There was no competition amongst anyone. They were selected by the congregation. That's about as simple as you can get it, and about as easy as you can get it, and about as fair as you can get it. You know, and the reason why I brought this up is, or thinking, it brought me to mind one time while David was here, he mentioned David and the things that he did and the things that he thought he wanted to do and the things that he didn't do because God didn't let him. Because he had something else in mind for David. And whether anyone got selected or not, the other people may be something else for them to do other than that position. You know, so, and that's the way it works. But it brought me to thinking about David. And so I studied a little bit on David, and this is what I come up with. David he was sitting in his house, and he says, here I sit in a house of cedars, and I have all of this stuff with me, but my God lives in a tent. Now, that don't sound right to me. So I want to build him a house. I want to build him a place of rest, a place for his footstool, and a place for the ark of God. And it's going to be wonderful. It needs to be masterful. It needs to be glorious and grandeur. Because this is not for a man. This is for my God. See, he had the right attitude. He wanted to do something for God, and he wanted it to be the most glorious thing that could happen on this earth or anywhere, because it was his God he was talking about. But we know that God come to Nathan and told him, you go tell David he's not going to build my house, but his son is going to build my house. And the reason was not because of David's sin. It wasn't that reason. The reason was that he was a man of war, that he had blood on his hands. And God did not want him building him a house with blood on his hands. And so he says, I'm going to let Solomon build my house. He's going to do it. Now, David might have been a little disappointed, but that didn't stop him, and we're going to read about that. In 1 Chronicles, the 28th chapter, starting in the first verse, 1 Chronicles 28:1, he says this: "And David assembled all the princes of Israel and the princes of the tribes and the captains and the companies and the ministers that ministered to the king by course, and the captains over thousands, captains over hundreds, and stewards over all the substance and possessions of the king and of his sons, with the officers and with the mighty men, and with all the valiant men unto Jerusalem." He called everyone to Jerusalem. He said, "I want everyone to hear what I'm about to say." Then David stood up. Then David the king stood upon his feet and said, "Hear me, my brethren, and my people. As for me, I had in my heart to build a house of rest for the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and for the footstool of our God, and had made ready for the building." Okay? "But God said unto me, Thou shalt not build a house for my name, because thou hast been a man of war and hast shed blood. Howbeit the Lord of God of Israel chose me before all the house of my father to be king over Israel forever. For he hath chosen Judah to be the ruler over the house of Judah, the house of my father, and among the sons of my father he liked me to make me king over Israel." Okay? "And of my sons, for the Lord hath given me many sons, he has chosen Solomon, my son, to sit upon the throne of the kingdom of the Lord over Israel. And he said unto me, Solomon thy son shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son. I will be his father. Moreover, I will establish his kingdom forever, if he be constant to do my commandments and my judgments as at this day. Now therefore, in the sight of all Israel, the congregation of the Lord, and the audience of our God, keep and seek for all the commandments of the Lord your God, that ye may possess this good land, and leave it for an inheritance to your children after you forever. And thou, Solomon, my son, know thou the God of thy father, and serve him with a perfect heart and with a willing mind. For the Lord searcheth all hearts, and understandeth all the imaginations of the thoughts. If thou seek him, he will be found of thee. But if thou forsake him, he will cast thee off forever. Take heed now, for the Lord hath chosen thee to build a house of the sanctuary. Be strong and do it." There he gave him the charge. You build that house. Okay? Just like we've selected these men, you take care of this church. See? Now, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to do what David did. And what did David do? In the 11th verse, we continue and we find out. Then David gave to Solomon the pattern of the porch and of the houses thereof, and the treasure thereof, and the upper chamber thereof, and of the inner parlor thereof, and of the place of the mercy seat, and the pattern of all that he had by the Spirit of the courts, and of the house of God, house of the Lord, and of the chamber round about, and of the treasure of the house of God, and of the treasure of the dedicated things, also the courses of the priest, and the Levites, and for all the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and for all the vessels of service in the house of the Lord. He gave of gold by weight, things of gold, and of instruments, and all the manner of service, silver as for all instruments of silver by weight, and instruments of every kind of service. Even the weight for the candlesticks of gold, and for the lamps of gold by the weight of every candlestick, and for the lamps thereof, and the candlesticks of service by weight, both for the candlesticks and also the lamps thereof, according to the use of every candlestick, by the weight he gave gold of the tables of the showbread, and every table likewise silver for the tables of silver, also pure gold for the flesh hooks and the bowls and the cups, and for the golden basins he gave gold by weight of every basin, likewise silver by weight of every basin of silver, and for the altar of incense refined gold by weight, and the gold for the pattern of the chariot of the cherubims that spread out their wings and covered the ark of the covenant of the Lord. All this said David, the Lord made me to understand in writing by his hand upon me, even all the works of this pattern. See, that's what he gave to Solomon. He gave him the plans. You know, you go build a house, you don't just start out there with no plans. You go and you find out, research the land, research the things, and see if the foundation's good enough, and what kind of foundation you're going to put there, and what material you're going to put in there, and everything. And then you go and you build this house. Well, that's what David did. He said, now, this is the plan right here. This is the whole thing. This is how God wants it. And this is what I'm giving you. He said, and behold, in the 21st verse, and behold, the courses of the priests and the Levites, and even they shall be with thee for all the service of the house of God, and there shall be with thee for all manner of workmanship, every willing, skillful man, for any manner of service. Also the princes and all the people will be holy at thy command. He said, everyone here that's listening is under the command of my son Solomon to build this house. The masons, the carpenters, the bricklayers, whatever, those that fashion the bowls, those that use the gold to fashion things, and all this stuff that I've just spoken about, you're under his command. See? He gave them the plans. He didn't sit back and say, I really wanted to build that house myself. I'm so disappointed. No, he didn't do that. He took what God gave him and he used it. God gave him these plans because he said he gave them to him by the Spirit. Everything. You know, when they built the tabernacle, God made a pattern and he gave it to Moses. And he says, I want it done this way. Well, they did it that way. Or it wouldn't have been the tabernacle of God. It would have been something else. David said, this is what he wants. And this is what will happen. But I'm not going to build it, you are. See? He said, you are. God won't let me do it. He didn't choose me to do it. But he chose you to do it. And now I'm giving you all the assets that I have concerning that house to you to build it. See? So what does that mean for us? Well, if we go to Romans, the 12th chapter and the first verse, we hear this. He says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy unto God, holy acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Okay? That's all well and good. Yes, Lord, I give my life over to you. Now what do you want me to do? Okay. David said, Lord, you have my heart. What do you want me to do? The Lord told him, I want you to give this to Solomon so that he can build that house. And so that's exactly what he did. That was his reasonable service. And he did it with joy, and he did it with gladness because he loved the Lord. And that's what we need to do. Whatever we have to do, we need to do it for the Lord. Because he says this, for I say, through the grace given unto me, unto every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Because we're no better than one another. All us men put our britches on the same way every day. So we're no different. What makes it different in the respect is what God puts you in a position to do. See, that's what it is. We'll go on with this. He says, for I say, I'll read this again. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. God knows your faith. He knows what you're capable of. He knows what you're not capable of doing. He knows your heart. He knows your thoughts. He knows your imaginations. He knows everything about you. Just like he did David. David said, I'm going to build this house for God. I'm gung-ho for it. And then God says, no, you're not. Your son's going to build it. Don't be downtrodden. I want your help for him to build this house. And David did it gladly. The fourth verse. He said, for as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we being many are one body in Christ, and every one members one of another. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy, according to the proportion of faith. Or ministry, let us wait on our ministering. Or he that teacheth on teaching. Or he that exhorteth on exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that ruleth with diligence. He that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly and affectioned one towards another with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. That's our goal, to serve the Lord. Now, how we serve the Lord is really up to us. You know, if we can teach, do it to the best of your ability. If you go visit someone, do that to the best of your ability. If you talk to someone on a telephone or you write someone, do that with love and with the best of your ability. That's what God wants you to do. Whatever you have to do. If you're a leader, lead with love. Considering yourself. See? And if you're just a servant sitting on the bench over here, do that with the best of your ability. You know, have you ever seen someone that's there all the time, just like Winona? I'll miss her because she's not sitting right over there. Well, why is she not sitting there? She's not here. Why is she not here? Do we notice that? Do we notice when any one of us is missing? See, that's what service is. If she's missing, find out why she's missing. See if we can help. See if she needs something, whatever. She may just be gone on a trip somewhere. But at least we know where she's at, and we know she's safe and everything like that, and that's what we need to do. Care for one another. It's not being nosy, it's being careful. You care for one another. That's all it is care for one another. In 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, the 20th verse, we have this. But now are there many members, but yet one body. The eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of thee, nor again the head to the feet. Have you ever stumped your little toe? Not your big toe, your little toe. You can't hardly stand up, can you? That's a balance. Because you need that little toe. It's part of the body. Many members, but yet one body. The head can't say to the hand, I have no need of you. The head can't say to the feet, I have no need of you. Because we got to have something for the church to stand on. We have to have a foundation for the church to stand on. We have to have a foundation for these gentlemen who are about to take the leadership of this congregation to stand on. And that foundation is you and is me. And if we're not strong, they're not strong. Because they're leading on a shady foundation, a weak foundation. We need to be that foundation for them in one way or another. Whatever it is that we can do, we need to do it. Because we are many members, but one body. And if we want to be strong and have that foundation, we have to be strong for them. Because if we're strong for them, we make their job a lot easier. You see? Because if we're not strong, they have a tough job of getting us strong before they can do anything else. But if we're strong before they even start, they say, well, good, let's keep it up. See, it's a lot easier to work with somebody that wants to work with you than it is for somebody that's always bucking your system for any reason. But to have a good, strong foundation, that's what we need. And we'll finish this up in just a second. But we have to do it with love. 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter, Paul said, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. You're just making noise. nobody can understand you because you're not doing what you're doing with love. Maybe doing it out of restraint or constraint or whatever. But if you're not doing it out of love for one another, that's the wrong idea. Because you're just a tinkling cymbal. And though I have gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. Love is the foundation of this church. If love is not here, we have nothing. If we're doing this, if we're here for any other reason than that we love each other, we love God, and we want to serve God, and we want to serve Him together, then we're here for the wrong reason. Because we have to have love in our hearts, one for another, and for the leadership of this church. And that's that foundation. It says, charity, in the 4th verse, charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemingly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in the iniquity, but rejoiceth in truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. And when I became a man, I put away those childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. I know in part, but then I shall know even as I am known. Now abideth faith, hope, charity. These three, but the greatest of these is charity. If we don't have faith, we don't have a good foundation. If we don't have hope, we don't have a good foundation. But if we don't have love, we don't have a foundation at all. Because we have nothing. We can have all the hope and the faith that we can have, but if we do it without love, we have nothing. You know, right quick, Moses didn't get to see the promised land. But we read this morning that he prayed for them and he told them what they needed to do. When Brad says, and now, but, see, what are we going to do after we've ordained these elders and deacons? What are we going to do? Are we going to be that foundation and be strong and help them and make them strong? I hope that's what we do. We never know the minds of those that are here. It might be one who wants to become a child of God or the prayers of the church. We would bid you come while we stand and sing.